Hi there, learners and listeners. Mr. Zilke here with another Google Drive tutorial video. So I had an idea recently to create an idea passport for students. And in their idea passport, they can write down their ideas, record them, describe them, and actually record what happens to their ideas, where their ideas go. Because ideas can travel around the classroom and they can change and be built upon by other students. They can be reframed. They can become something bigger or smaller than they were before. And I think it would be a great way to motivate students to have ideas and actually take them a step further, to share these ideas and to innovate these ideas. It's also a good way for students to track their ideas' progress. I think that in itself would be very handy. They can start thinking about how their ideas grow, what they need to do in order to take their ideas further. So I'd like to get started right away. I think it could be a lot of fun and I think it would be a nice thing to do. So I'm just going to close my brainstorming now that I've refreshed my memory of what the idea was. And I'm just going to get a couple ideas for passport covers. So I'm taking a look. There's the Canadian passport, there's a US passport. And here, this is kind of neat. It's an international passport and has a unicorn and a crest on it. That's kind of cool. All right, well, I'm going to get started on mine. It's probably going to look a little different. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new folder because I'm going to call this idea passport. Because this doesn't really fit in language arts or math or any of the subject matters, the subject areas. An idea can relate to any of the subject areas. It's actually quite open. So now that I've made this folder, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to get started. I'm going to make a cover for my ideas passport. Now I'm planning on printing it out on 8.5 by 11 paper. So my cover is going to have to be 8.5. Well, I'm going to put it in landscape. It's going to be 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. But before I do that, I'm going to give this a name, idea passport. So file, page setup, going to go to custom. It's going to be 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. All right, so I know since I'm folding it in half, my cover is actually going to be on this side of the page, and the back is going to be on this side of the page. So the first thing I want to do is actually find my center. So I'm just going to use my line tool. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. I'm not too worried right now because I am going to move it to the exact middle. And I'm just going to use my line tool to create a little guiding line, which I will erase later. So I can take this and I can move it until I see the red guiding line, which tells me that I'm right in the middle. Once I have it there, I can actually move it down. I can put it right middle center. So now I know that I can't, if I want it to be on the front cover, I can't put anything over here. It has to stay on this side. All right, so looking at these passport cover templates, I see that in all caps we have passport down here, so I'm going to try and do something like that. I'm going to select my text box, I'm going to make a pretty big text box, and I'm going to put on caps lock, or you can hold down shift. I'm going to write idea passport. I'm going to unselect my caps locks, I'm going to select this text, going to align it into the center, and I will align it in the middle as well. I'm going to change the font size because that's pretty small. Try 36, that's a little too big. So I'll try 30, that looks good. Now I'm also going to change the font because I want something that looks a bit more like the fonts I'm seeing on our passports. Let's try Playfair Display. That looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I want this to be centered, but when I'm dragging across, I'm not getting that red line because it only does it for the whole document. So I'm going to have to do something a little different, a little innovative. So I'm going to make a shape. I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to start my rectangle at the center, bring it across. I'm going to make sure this is flush with that line here. So now I know that this is the center, or the quarter way across, and then I can use this, and that the red line, the guiding line, will actually match up there. So now I've used that for my measurement. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to select it and press delete. Now I'm noticing that these passport covers have nice crests, nice templates. I don't really have time right now to make something like this, and I don't even really know how I would make something like this in Google Draw because I'm still learning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my drive, and I'm going to use something I've already made. So I'm going to go into my math resources folder, and I'm going to pick my dodecagon, my connected geometrical dodecagon, where all the vertices are connected. And I'm going to click and, well, I'm going to wait for it to load. I'm going to be very patient. Now I'm going to click and drag with my select tool. And now I have this whole shape selected. I'm going to press Command C or Control C if I'm using a Windows computer. I'm going to press Command V. And what I'm doing is I'm copying it and pasting a duplicate into my new document. Now this is way too big, so I'm going to have to resize it. So I can choose any corner, and I can click on it. I'm holding down Shift so it maintains its proportions. And I can drag that across. Now the red line is telling me this is matched up. The center of my drawing is matched up with the center of this text. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to deselect it and take a look. This looks pretty nice. I think it's a little bit big still, so I'm going to select it again. To resize it again, I'm holding down Shift so that it's maintaining its height and width proportions and not getting all stretched out. So that's looking pretty good. Now, if you see those blue measurement guides, they're actually showing me that the distance between that area is the same as the distance there between this area. So that's kind of a neat thing to know. But I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I think this is going to have to be a little bit smaller, and I'm going to shrink this down a bit. And let's get that up right over. Well, let's actually keep this down here, and maybe we'll move the whole shape down a little bit. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm looking back to my inspirations. We have international. We sometimes see the country name. So what I would do is I want to use this same font. So I'm just going to select this text box. I'm going to press Command C, Command V. That way I don't have to go down and choose my font again. I'm going to select all this, and I'm going to write my classroom name. So let's say I'm in room 103. I would put that up in the top and make sure that this lines up with the center. It does. Now I want this to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to select 24. And that's looking pretty good. Now I don't need this anymore. When I fold it in half, I don't need that as a guide. I'm just going to match up the two sides. So this is looking pretty good right now as a template. I'm going to move that down a little bit. I'm pretty happy with it. I can always change it in the future, but that's pretty nice for now. All right, that's all for now. Take care and have a good one.